All right, here are those recipes that I promised you. The first one is something called tortino di melanzane, and that translates to an eggplant pie. And remember, we're talking about Emilia-Romagna, so we're not going to prepare something today that's from southern Italy. This is in the northern Italian style, so make sure that you're dealing with really nice looking eggplant. If you go to the grocery store, you want to make sure it's nice and shiny, there are no brown spots, the core at the top is not shriveled. That's a good eggplant. And for this dish, we want to flour and fry these. So I just want to cut off the top. We're going to leave the skin on because that has a lot of great vitamins. And just cut the slices up into, about 1/4 inch thick, long slices. And you know, people say that the larger an eggplant, the more seeds it has and the more bitter it is. But I have not really found that to be true. But if you really wanted to get some of the excess water out of eggplant and make it less bitter, you could also salt these before you use them, put a weight on them, and let the water come out of the eggplant, and then wash and dry them, and then you'll be ready to go. So those look beautiful, don't they? And let me show you what we do with this. Now we want to dredge these in some flour. So here's just some unbleached all-purpose flour that I like to use in the kitchen. And I'm going to give that a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper and just mix that up. And now you don't want to drown these in flour. You just want to lightly coat them in flour, shaking off the excess. So there's one, and I'll do one more. And now to fry these, we want to do this in peanut oil. Peanut oil is really good for eggplant because eggplant will absorb less peanut oil than it will olive oil. It's a lot lighter too. And in my saute pan here, I've got some peanut oil that I've heated up, and I want to add the slices. And I just want those to brown nicely on both sides. So we're going to have to keep our eye on that while those are frying. You say you don't like to fry? Well, why don't you bake? So if you don't want to fry eggplant, get out a baking sheet and just give it a misting of some olive oil. And then you can just bake them without the flour. Don't put the flour on. Just put them on the sheet and then take some extra olive oil, spray them over the top. And then your oven is on at 350 degrees. You put them in the oven and you let them bake until they start to wither and get a little bit soft. Then you want to go back and use a fork and turn them over and let them cook a little bit on the other side. So we've got our eggplant cooking there, and while they're cooking, we have to prepare the pan for this. So we're going to bake this. This is called a tortino, and we want to do it in a Pyrex pan like this will be fine. And before we start, we have to have some tomato sauce. And I know that all of you have made tomato sauce in the past, so here is my tomato sauce. And this is just a little bit of olive oil, garlic, onions, plum tomatoes, some fresh basil, salt and pepper, and sometimes I like to add a little bit of red wine. So we want to put a thin coating of sauce in the base of our baked dish. And then it's very simple. I'm going to let those cook a little longer because I know I can't turn them over yet. Here are some that we did a little earlier. Don't they look beautiful? And I told you that this was a tortino di melanzane. So it uses one of the key products from Emilia-Romagna, and that is Parmigiano Reggiano. This is Parmesan cheese, cow's milk cheese. It comes from a very special place in Emilia-Romagna. So you take your eggplant and you put a layer down in the pan, and if you have to patch, you have to patch. So make sure your pan is either the exact size for your eggplant or cut pieces to fit. And then you want to give that just a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and some of the Parmigiano. So here is some grated Parmigiano. Now this isn't going to get anything other than this, just the Parmigiano, the tomato sauce, and the eggplant. We spread a little bit of sauce, and then we make another layer. Again, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit more tomato over the top, just a nice thin layer. And we're going to do something interesting with this because we're going to make a really nice crusty top for this. You notice I'm not overloading this with tomato sauce either. I want to keep this dish light. You want to make sure those are really nicely browned. I guess I can turn that one and turn that one. They still have a ways to go, but you know what? We're almost finished with our casserole. So now once you have it like that, then we want to make the topping. And the topping starts out with some eggs. So here are 3 eggs. I just want to beat up a little bit and give that just a little bit of salt and pepper. Salt and a pinch of pepper. And we want to add a little bit of cheese to that as well. So here's some Parmigiano. I'll put in about 2 tablespoons. And about a half a cup of breadcrumbs. You really want this to be kind of pasty, something that you can spread. And that looks great. So you see how pasty that is. So now we're just going to spread this. And this is just great, served hot or at room temperature. And it makes a nice, interesting crust when it's baked. And it's a little bit different than the normal eggplant Parmigiano. And that looks good. All right, now your oven is on at 350 degrees. And we want to bake this just until this crust is crusty. Let me get that little last piece there. And that's ready to go. So my oven's already on. So in it goes. 350 degrees. I would say for about 20 minutes.